Welcome back to my channel. I'm Yashua, the destination for Saints fans and sports fans around the world. Whether you're a diehard Saints fan like myself or you really love football, you love sports, I got your latest updates, discussion, debates, and analysis right here. So today I want to recap Saints preseason game against the Chargers. Tyler Shuck first. He went 15 for 22, 165 yards, one touchdown, one interception. He had a QBR of 86.4. Spencer Rattler, on the other hand, he went 7 for 22. He had 53 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interception, 1 fumble, and his QBR was 75.7. Now, if you ask me who I think had the better day today, I think it was Tyler Shuck. He was able to push the ball downfield, generate some points, and he was decisive. He fit balls into tight windows. He played pretty good today. Outside of the interception he threw, I was happy to see him bounce back from facing adversity, throwing an interception, a pick six, mind you, and then coming back and throwing a 54-yard touchdown pass to Mason Tipton, and showing that he could have that mental toughness to move on to the next play. The biggest thing for me is it's okay to make a mistake, but how are you gonna bounce back? And Tyler Shuck, that's the best way to bounce back to it right there. Come back out, guns blazing, ball downfield, deep ball. That was perfect. Spencer Rattler, on the other hand, couldn't generate no momentum. Didn't play bad, but mind you, he was decisive. Good decision making. People on the internet saying that he held onto the ball too long, he wasn't decisive enough, but pulling the ball down, scrambling outside the pocket, and picking up positive yards, that's pretty decisive to me, if you add. Yes, he fumbled, but the right tackle, number 77, did get bulldozed into him, and ultimately he fumbled the ball. But as a quarterback, you got to be able to fill the pocket and scramble outside or step up, deliver a pass, throw it away. You can't take a sack and a fumble. Now, hopefully, Spencer Rattler can come out the next game and fix some of his mistakes. But ultimately, I do think Tyler Shuck won the day overall. Now we move on to the backfield. I think Kendre Miller, out of all the running backs, kind of won the day. Mind you, no running back had a good game today. We had 20 rushes for like 60 yards, so no one really won today. But with this backup running back position between him, CEH, and Akers, I feel like Kendre Miller had the better day so far. He ran tough, he ran sturdy, but in overall, I don't think no one really wowed me in the running back position. It was just, I think Kendre Miller, what he put on tape was better than what the other guys put on tape. So, and now we move outside to the perimeters, the receivers that I think had a pretty good day. Of course, Mason Tipton, the long ball, 54-yard touchdown from Tyler Shuck. And then you move on to Kevin Austin, who had 4 receptions for like 42 yards. And then under him, Cedric Wilson had 3 receptions for 37 yards. I think those guys played pretty good with the reps that they got and the snaps that they got, especially Mason Tipton. Even though he had 1 reception, his route running was crisp. He had a double move on the outside that kind of lost the defender. And then I think Kevin Austin Jr. also had a double move on the outside that was overthrown by Tyler Shuck. So I think those dudes played pretty good today. And lastly, I want to move on to the offensive line, which was by far the most depressing to me today. Outside of Kelvin Banks, a little bit of Trevor Pitting besides that holding call he got, and Fuaga, I feel like everybody else was just, the backup O-line puts fear in my heart. It's a lot of stuff we have to clean up with that backup O-line right now in training camp, because knock on wood, if one of our starting O-lineman goes out, we screwed, bro. We couldn't get no push on running plays. We couldn't establish our blocks. We couldn't establish our blocks on pass pro. It was just bad for the backup offensive line. I truly hope that those guys specifically can clean it up for the next game and for the regular season. And now we flip the ball over on the defensive side of the ball, and one dude that I seen flying around the field was Isaiah Stallbird. 8 total tackles, 1 tackle for a loss. And that tackle for a loss, he flew from that outside linebacker position, and he flew through that B gap. And I'm talking about he was head first, nose inside the dude's chest for a tackle for a loss. That was probably one of the most beautiful blitzes I've ever seen in my life. And then Fadil Diggs had 4 tackles, 1 sack, 2 tackles for a loss. Then you move on to Isaac Yedem, who had 2 pass breakups, 1 beautiful pass breakup on the opening drive against Taylor Heineke. I forget who he was guarding or defending, and but it was an in breaking route, and he ultimately got the pass breakup. And then you move on to Ugo Amadi, who I also think played pretty good, played free in that nickel position. Somehow I expect to see Alante Taylor to play. And then also the big dude in the middle at D tackle, what's his name, Christian Boyd, who was in for a sack. It was ultimately labeled a safety, but the refs kind of got together, and you know how they do the Saints, they wiped it off the board. But I do think Christian Boyd had a pretty good day today, really anchoring down that defensive tackle position. He played pretty good today. I was excited, and I was impressed to see what he had to do and had to put on tape. Overall, I do feel like the defense specifically played pretty good throughout the entirety of the game. They played pretty stout. They played pretty gritty up until the last drive when they gave up a deep ball and then followed by a rushing touchdown. I do feel like they played pretty good today. Offensively, we was pretty slow. We couldn't put together consistent drives. We stalled out many times. We couldn't grasp momentum. The only really highlight of the day really was from the 54-yard touchdown with Tyler Shuck and Mason Tipton. Hopefully next week we could clean it up, put together more consistent drives, and see if we could do better, man.